Greetings, YouTube, and welcome to episode 181 of the 4,000 Question Challenge. Let's see how long Mandarin stays quiet, because she's sitting right here on the floor. Oh, now she's up. She's moving. She was sitting quietly until I started recording and talking. There she is. Yes, dear, I know. You don't have any attention. And you tell people that so that you'll get attention. What one object would you grab if your house was on fire? Well, I've lived through that, and it sucked, and the object I grabbed was my phone, because that let me communicate with the world. Do you like or dislike schedules? I am a very regular person. I live on a very rigid personal schedule, and I work in an environment where they literally track every minute of my life. So schedules are part of who and what I am. Do you dream in color or black and white? I dream in color. Now, interestingly, most of my dreams are in absolute silence. There's conversations, but it's all of the mental variety, in the sense that I know there's conversations going on and I understand what the people in the dreams do and want and say, but there's no sound. It took me a long time to be aware of that. I have no idea why that is. Do you know when to accept your measure of responsibility for a bad break? Yes, I'm pretty good at taking responsibility for things I've done. In fact, I'm pretty good at taking responsibility for things that I haven't done. Now, it took me a long time to take responsibility for things that I did not know because of my privilege, but I've gotten better at that, and I hope that I am currently doing the proper job I need to do to support women and minority groups. How much time a day do you spend in front of some kind of screen? 5 to 6 hours a day, probably, between my computer and my phone. How do you channel frustration into a non-destructive activity? That is an incredibly good question. As of the time of the filming of this video, frustration is one of the things I'm trying to deal with, and I don't have an answer to that, because if I had an answer to that, I probably wouldn't need to be in therapy anymore. Are you good or bad at finishing things? I am bad at finishing things. If stuff has a low level of involvement, I can get it accomplished, but sometimes, like, there's a bunch of things behind me that need to be reviewed, haven't been reviewed. There are many things that I have project ideas that have never been made, video ideas that have never been filmed. I'm hoping that this project will be completed on time, not on time, but completed and uploaded over time. But we're up into the 180s, so that's a good sign, I guess. Do you have a fear of insects? Which kind? I don't really have a fear of insects because they are insects. I have a fear of insects because of what they can do, like carry disease or denote a problem with your home, like in the case of termites or ants. So, or cockroaches. I've never had those, thankfully. But I have had ants in a home more than once. Never had termites. This building has had termites, but they treated them. We haven't had them since. That was before I owned it. But yeah, so I don't fear insects because they're insects. I don't really enjoy having insects on my mind. I don't want insects crawling on me if I can avoid it. But I have no phobia of them. What can and will you kill? Well, I indirectly kill all kinds of food to eat. I'm an omnivore. And I have some very firm belief that push comes to shove, I'd kill another human being to save my life or to save the life of another. So a lot, I guess. What is the strangest thing you save? As in, like, I actively acquire them? Probably RPG books. But I also have a very large collection of knives, more knives than I will ever use in my entire life. I have more hammers than I will ever use in my entire life. Though the hammers are specialty in some cases, like this hammer would be useful in under this circumstances. So I need a non-sparking hammer. I got one of aluminum. I've got one made out of bronze. Okay, cool. So there are somewhat useful in that context. But also, if you need to hit something without harming it, I have wooden hammers, and I have I think I have a leather hammer. And I have, again, soft. I have a lead, bronze, aluminum, all things that will not mar an object as much as a steel hammer would. So, for example, that. But I have a pacemaker sitting on the shelf next to me, which I picked up at a yard sale. That's a weird thing. I have saved it. I have no plans of ever getting rid of it. When it gets sold at the estate sale that it gets held after my passing, someone's going to think that's really weird. So yes, that was the last question for 181. Thank you. I hope that you will be here for 182. And I get the feeling that Mandarin will be with us for 182.